The HOA bulk purchasing invoice showed $847.32 in charges I never authorized. My name is James Martin. I'm 38 years old. I work as a facilities manager for Laurel Creek Municipal Services. I've lived in Cedar Ridge neighborhood for 6 years. The house sits on a corner lot at 2847 Maple Grove Drive. Standard suburban setup. Nothing fancy. The invoice arrived on a Tuesday morning in March. Bright yellow envelope. HOA letterhead. Inside was a detailed breakdown of community bulk purchasing charges. Pool chemicals, landscaping supplies, maintenance equipment. All legitimate items for neighborhood upkeep. Except I never signed up for the bulk purchasing program. I called the HOA office immediately. Nathan Collins answered. He serves as our community manager. Professional voice. Helpful attitude. He pulled up my account on his computer. Mr. Martin, you enrolled in February, he said. Electronic signature on file. Authorization form submitted February 15th. I stared at the invoice. The signature looked exactly like mine. Perfect loops on the J. Distinctive slant on the M. Even the way I cross my T's. But I never signed anything. Can you email me a copy of that form? I asked. Absolutely. Sending it now. The form arrived within minutes. My address, my phone number, my email, my signature. Everything matched my records perfectly. But I had no memory of signing it. I checked my email history. No confirmation messages. No welcome packets. No enrollment notifications. Nothing about bulk purchasing in my inbox or spam folder. The next morning, I walked to the mailbox. Our mail carrier was making his rounds. Same guy for 3 years. Always friendly. Always professional. He waved from across the street. I waved back. Then I noticed something odd. He was carrying a tablet. Not the standard postal scanner. This was different. Larger screen. Personal device. He was entering data while walking between houses. I watched him work our street. House by house. Checking addresses. Making notes. Taking photos of mailboxes with his phone. That afternoon I called the post office. Asked about new equipment protocols. The supervisor was confused. Our carriers use postal scanners only, she said. No personal tablets allowed during delivery. I hung up. Walked to my front window, watched the street. Something was wrong in Cedar Ridge. The bulk purchasing charges kept coming. Every 2 weeks. Yellow envelopes. Detailed invoices. Items I never ordered for a program I never joined. I started keeping records. Spreadsheet on my laptop. Date received. Amount charged. Items listed. The pattern was consistent. Pool chemicals every other Tuesday. Landscaping supplies on Fridays. Maintenance equipment monthly. Total charges so far, $847. I called Nathan Collins again. Asked for the original enrollment documentation. He seemed hesitant this time. Mr. Martin, I already sent you the authorization form. I need everything. Application, terms of service, payment authorization. The complete file. Let me check with our legal department first. That response raised red flags. HOA records are member property. No legal review needed for basic documents. I decided to investigate on my own. The Cedar Ridge HOA office sits on Maple Street. Small building. Shared with 3 other neighborhood associations. I arrived Tuesday morning. Asked to review my complete account file. Lily Collins worked the front desk. Nathan's sister. She pulled my folder immediately. No hesitation. No legal department consultation. Inside were documents I'd never seen. Bulk purchasing application dated February 15th. Payment authorization form. Terms and conditions, acknowledgement. All bearing my signature. But something was off about the paper. Different weight. slightly different white tone. The letterhead looked correct, but the texture felt wrong. I asked Lily to make copies. She obliged. I took them home for closer examination. Under my desk lamp, the differences became obvious. The signatures were photocopies. High quality, but definitely reproduced. The paper stock didn't match genuine HOA forms I had from previous years. Someone had forged my enrollment. I needed to find out who had access to my signature samples. Property records at City Hall, HOA correspondence, utility applications, insurance documents. The list was extensive, but one person had regular access to all my mail, including documents with my signature. Our mail carrier. I started watching his routine more carefully. He arrived at Cedar Ridge around 10:30 each morning, worked systematically, house numbers ascending, but he spent extra time at certain mailboxes, mine included. Thursday morning, I positioned myself at the kitchen window. Clear view of the mailbox. Camera ready on my phone. He approached my mailbox at 10:47. Delivered the standard mail. Then he pulled out his personal tablet, photographed something inside the mailbox, made notes on the screen. I had installed a small security camera inside my mailbox the previous week. Motion activated, battery powered, hidden behind the mail slot. That evening, I reviewed the footage. The mail carrier was photographing my outgoing mail, bills, insurance payments, bank correspondence, anything with my signature or account information. He was building a database. I checked with neighbors, casual conversations, asked about their mail delivery experience. Most noticed nothing unusual, but Lily Collins from Rosewood Drive mentioned something interesting. He always seems to know when I'm expecting important documents, she said. Asks if I'm waiting for anything specific. That wasn't standard postal protocol. I called the postal inspector's office. Filed a formal complaint. Described the unauthorized tablet use, the photographing behavior, the suspicious timing. Inspector Rodriguez took my statement. Assigned case number 2-0240-847. Promised a discreet investigation. Don't confront the carrier directly, he warned. Let us handle this professionally. But I needed more. The HOA forgeries were just the beginning. I contacted my bank, requested copies of all checks written in the past 6 months. Cross-referenced the signatures with the forged HOA documents. Perfect matches. Someone had been studying my handwriting for months, practicing, perfecting the technique. The mail carrier had access to dozens of signature samples, utility bills, insurance payments, tax documents. Everything passed through his hands first. I started tracking his route more systematically, borrowed a friend's car, followed at a distance, documented his stops, timed his deliveries. He was making unauthorized stops. Office supply stores, copy centers, electronics shops, all during his postal route. The pattern became clear. He would collect mail samples in the morning, make copies during lunch break, return to finish his route in the afternoon. I needed proof of the forgery operation. Wednesday afternoon, I followed him to Kinko's on Highway 6. Watched through the window. He was using the high scanner, copying documents, adjusting settings for optimal reproduction. I took photos through the window, time-stamped. Clear view of postal uniform. Recognizable face. That evening, I called Inspector Rodriguez. Provided the new bis predacres. Location. Time. Photographic proof. Will coordinate with local law enforcement, he said. This is mail fraud. Federal offense. The next morning, I received another yellow envelope. But this time, the charges were different. Personal items. Garden supplies for a residential address. Electronics. Household goods. He wasn't just forging HOA documents. He was using the bulk purchasing accounts for personal shopping. The internal audit trail would eventually catch this. HOA accountants review all bulk purchases quarterly. Compare invoices with actual deliveries. Verify legitimate community use. But he was counting on the delay. Time to cover his tracks. Transfer blame. Disappear the passes. I had found our neighborhood betrayer. The mail carrier we trusted with our most sensitive documents was systematically stealing our identities, using our signatures, accessing our accounts. And he had been doing it for months. Thursday morning brought Detective Reese Thompson from the County Budget Integrity Agency to my front door. Inspector Rodriguez had coordinated the handoff. Federal mail fraud was now intersecting with local financial crimes. "Mr. Martin, we need to discuss the bulk purchasing fraud," Thompson said. His badge showed Insurance Fraud Division. "This goes beyond forged signatures." We sat at my kitchen table. Thompson spread out printed bank statements, purchase orders, delivery confirmations. The paper trail was extensive. "Your HOA bulk purchasing account shows $12,000 in unauthorized transactions over 6 months, he explained. Garden center purchases delivered to residential addresses. Electronics ordered through community accounts. Personal groceries charged to neighborhood funds." The scope was staggering. Our mail carrier hadn't just stolen signatures, he had systematically drained community resources. "How did he access the account numbers?" I asked. "Same method as the signatures. Mail interception. Your HOA treasurer receives monthly statements, account information, authorization codes. Everything he needed passed through his hands first." Thompson showed me copies of forged purchase orders, my signature, Nathan Collins' signature from the HOA board, Lily Collins from the Architectural Committee, all perfectly replicated. "We need your cooperation for the sting operation," Thompson said. "Tomorrow's delivery. We'll have surveillance teams positioned. Postal inspectors ready. When he attempts the next forgery, we arrest him." I agreed immediately. This had to. Friday morning, I positioned myself at the front window. Unmarked cars were parked strategically throughout Cedar Ridge. Thompson's team had set up surveillance equipment in Nathan Collins' garage across the street. The mail truck arrived at 10:47 a.m. Same routine, same casual demeanor. He sorted mail at each house, collected outgoing envelopes, appeared completely normal. But I knew what to watch for now. The slight pause at certain mailboxes, the quick glance around before pocketing specific documents, the practiced movements of someone stealing in plain sight. At my mailbox, he lingered longer than usual, sorted through the stack twice, removed something from the middle, slipped it into his postal bag. My HOA quarterly assessment notice, with account information, payment instructions, everything needed for the next fraudulent purchase. Thompson's voice crackled through the radio earpiece they had given me. "Target acquired. Moving to intercept." 3 unmarked cars converged simultaneously. Postal inspectors emerged from concealed positions. The mail carrier was surrounded before he could react. "Federal agents, step away from the vehicle." His face went through a series of expressions: confusion, recognition, resignation. The game was over. Inspector Rodriguez handled the arrest. Thompson secured the gem. Postal bag contents, forged documents, scanning equipment hidden in the truck. "James Martin's assessment notice," Rodriguez announced, holding up the envelope. "Intercepted during active mail theft. They found everything: signature practice sheets, account number lists, purchase order templates. A complete forgery operation running from inside the Postal Service." The mail carrier's name was David Chen, 34 years old, 12-year postal employee. Clean record until 6 months ago. Financial pressures had apparently triggered the criminal behavior. Gambling debts, Thompson explained later, started small. Forged a few signatures for personal purchases. Escalated when he realized how easy it was. The PUPTID was overwhelming. Federal mail theft, identity fraud, embezzlement of community funds, multiple felony charges. Chen's preliminary hearing was scheduled for the following Tuesday. Thompson assured me the case was solid. Photographic, financial records, witness testimony, multiple victims across 3 neighborhoods. He was working other routes too, Thompson revealed. Cedar Ridge was just one target. We're finding similar patterns in Willowbrook and Maple Heights. The scope kept expanding. Dozens of forged signatures. Thousands of dollars in fraudulent purchases. A systematic operation spanning multiple communities. I attended the hearing. Watched Chen enter his plea. Guilty on all counts. His attorney negotiated a plea agreement. Restitution to all victims. Federal prison time. Permanent ban from postal employment. The judge was thorough. Mr. Chen, you violated the fundamental trust of mail delivery. Citizens depend on postal integrity. Your actions constitute a serious breach of public service. Sentencing was set for 6 weeks later. Thompson estimated 18 months federal prison. Full restitution required. Criminal record that would follow him permanently. But the legal resolution was only part of the story. Our neighborhood needed to rebuild trust. Implement new security measures. Prevent future exploitation. I organized a community meeting for the following Saturday. Cedar Ridge residents needed to understand what had happened. How to protect themselves. What changes were necessary. Lily Collins helped coordinate the logistics. Nathan Collins provided the venue. We invited Thompson to explain the investigation. Inspector Rodriguez discussed mail security protocols. 43 residents attended. The community room was packed. Anger mixed with relief. Questions about personal vulnerability. Demands for better oversight. How do we know this won't happen again? Asked Mrs. Patterson from Elm Street. Thompson was direct. You implement verification procedures. Cross-check all financial documents. Require multiple signatures for large purchases. Monitor account activity regularly. We established new HOA protocols that evening. Dual authorization for all purchases over $500. Monthly account reviews. Direct contact verification for any signature requests. I volunteered to coordinate the new oversight committee. My facilities management background made me qualified for financial monitoring. The community voted unanimously to approve the position. The restitution process took 3 months. Chen's assets were liquidated, garnished wages from his new job at a warehouse, monthly payments to affected neighborhoods. Cedar Ridge recovered $8,400 of the stolen funds. Not complete restitution, but significant recovery. The remaining balance would come through continued garnishment. More importantly, we had exposed the vulnerability, protected other potential victims, strengthened our community against future exploitation. Thompson's investigation led to policy changes at the Postal Service. Enhanced background checks. Regular route audits. Improved oversight of mail handling procedures. Your documentation made this case, Thompson told me during the final review. Without your systematic approach, Chen might have continued for years. The betrayal had been comprehensive. But our response was equally thorough. Legal justice. Financial recovery. Community protection. Systemic improvement. Chen was sentenced to 22 months federal prison. Full restitution ordered. Supervised probation upon release. The judge's final words were clear. Mail fraud strikes at the heart of community trust. Justice had been served through proper channels. No vigilante action. No community confrontation. Just methodical investigation and legal resolution. Our neighborhood had learned valuable lessons about trust and verification. The mail carrier we had trusted implicitly had exploited that trust systematically. But we had also learned about our own resilience, our ability to investigate, document, coordinate, protect each other through proper channels. The betrayal was over. The healing could begin. 12 months later, I stood in my driveway, watching the new mail carrier complete her route. Patricia delivered our mail with professional efficiency. No lingering conversations. No requests for community information. Just reliable postal service. The Cedar Ridge Homeowners Association had implemented every recommended security measure. Financial Oversight Committee met monthly. All vendor relationships required board approval. Purchase authorizations above $200 needed dual signatures. I created a financial transparency watchdog group for our county. The organization monitored municipal contracts, reviewed vendor relationships, provided oversight training for neighborhood associations. Our group had identified 3 additional cases of vendor fraud across Laurel Creek. Early detection prevented significant losses. The systematic approach we developed in Cedar Ridge became a model for other communities. Thompson's investigation had broader impact than expected. The Postal Service implemented new protocols nationwide. Route audits increased from annual to quarterly. Background checks now included financial history reviews. Chen completed 18 months of his sentence. Early release for good behavior. The restitution payments continued monthly. Cedar Ridge had recovered $11,200 of the original $14,600 theft. More importantly, the community had strengthened its financial controls. The vulnerability that Chen exploited no longer existed. Future mail carriers would face proper oversight and verification procedures. Nathan Collins had been elected HOA treasurer. His accounting background provided professional financial management. Monthly reports were detailed and transparent. Community trust in leadership was restored. Lily Collins continued coordinating neighborhood communications. Her systematic documentation approach had become standard practice. Every vendor interaction was recorded. All financial requests were verified through multiple channels. The betrayal had taught us valuable lessons about verification and oversight. Trust remained important in community relationships, but trust combined with proper controls was essential for protection. My facilities management experience proved valuable in developing security protocols. The skills transferred effectively from commercial properties to residential communities. Systematic approaches worked regardless of scale. The Financial Transparency Watchdog Group expanded to 12 neighborhoods. Monthly meetings reviewed municipal spending. Quarterly reports identified potential irregularities. Annual training sessions educated community leaders. Chen's case became a teaching example in our oversight training. The systematic nature of his fraud. The exploitation of community trust. The importance of verification procedures. Other communities requested our assistance in developing financial controls. The betrayal that had damaged Cedar Ridge ultimately helped protect dozens of neighborhoods across the county. The mail delivery process returned to normal routine. No special attention to carriers. No suspicious monitoring. Just appropriate oversight within established protocols. Trust had been rebuilt through transparency and verification. The community was stronger because of the systematic improvements. The betrayal had forced necessary changes that protected everyone. Chen's exploitation had been comprehensive and calculated, but our response had been equally systematic and thorough. Legal justice, financial recovery, community protection, preventative measures. The healing process was complete. Cedar Ridge had moved beyond the betrayal. The lessons learned would protect us indefinitely. It was finally over, and the silence felt earned.